BXB. It's in the game!
If you are one of the 8 people who have watched my Big Pharma review, then you'll have heard me talk about the process of getting Steam keys through Keymailer. It's a bit like finding them stuffed into an old Aldi carrier bag and then abandoned in a wood. Well, hot out of that self-same carrier bag comes 50 years, and I think it might just underline my point. I mean, I guess you'd say that this is the main screen of 50 years. This is a turn-based strategy game. I suppose it's in a King's Bounty, Heroes of Might and Magic vein. And so it's the standard kind of stuff. You're building buildings, you're recruiting units, you're fighting, you're trying to build up your settlement. Fine. This is the Buildings tab. All of these buildings either generate resources or let you recruit new combat units. But I think that you immediately start to get a hint of the problem here, because there's what? 16 buildings on this screen? I mean, this screen doesn't scroll or anything. This really is all your options. So I'll go back to the main screen, and here I can recruit some troops, and peasants increase my yearly income, and swordsmen can fight for me, and there's a few other resources you can gain on this screen if you've constructed the appropriate building on the Buildings tab. You can get wood and food and faith and things like that. Some units cost those resources instead of gold to build. It's all fairly standard. This is the scouting screen. Basically, at the end of each year, these dots light up and you sort of move closer to these locations. Once you reach these locations, they become revealed and you can send your troops there for a fight. If you win, you unlock some ongoing benefit for the rest of your game. If you lose, it's game over. And, well, yeah, that's basically the entire game. I mean, there is some other mechanic in there where you choose religious benefits every so often. I think it's related to how many faith you've gathered, but the game doesn't really explain why it's occurred, so whenever the screen appears, you just tend to choose something that looks good. If you ever lose a fight, it's game over, which means I guess the aim is to survive for 50 years? I mean, I guess. Game's not really telling you. Oh, wait, hang on. I haven't shown you the blistering thrills of combat yet, have I? Well, we definitely need to cover that. Yeah, so that was combat. I wasn't controlling any of that, by the way. The entire fight just gets run by the AI, and you just sort of sit and watch. You choose what troops to send into it, but that's the extent of your interaction there. You just wait and see if you win, which you normally do, because losing is game over. So, yeah. Do I sound underwhelmed by this game? I mean, what's here is probably fine, if a bit standard and fairly rote nowadays, but there's just not enough of it. The game isn't finished. The decisions you make don't really feel particularly important or particularly interesting, and very quickly you get to a stage where you're just doing stuff for the sake of doing it. Do I want to build a unicorn glade? Do I need unicorns in my army? I don't even know how strong a unicorn is. I mean, it's just a horse with a stabby stick on its head, right? Well, fine, I'm not doing anything else with all this wood, so sure, we'll have unicorns, I guess. So many of the decisions in this game end up like this. You really are just doing stuff for the sake of doing it, and you're never working towards an actual aim. It's not helped by the fact that the game has literally no tutorial and really makes no attempt to really explain anything to you. I mean, you figure it all out, the game's not complicated, but man, that lack of direction, the total absence of a real goal beyond just staying alive, it just pulls the rug on any sense of direction for the game. You just sit here and click stuff for mostly the sake of clicking it. There doesn't seem to be any real stakes to anything. And on top of that, the game does have a fairly amateurish quality in the way it handles most things. When you end the year, you basically just go through a single frame blackout and then the same screen reappears again. There's no fanfare, there's no like end of year sequence. I've got to say, the first time I ended the year, I honestly thought the button had just not worked. It was so minor, the response I got. There's just no feedback. And that lack of feedback, that's 50 Days in a nutshell, really. And once again, I do feel a bit guilty to be crapping on what I think is fairly obviously a pretty competent personal project put together by probably one person in a bedroom somewhere who recruited a couple of their mates to help out on the graphics and the sound. If I was giving this to judge as like a student game, or even as like a piece attached to a CV, I'd probably have a lot of positive things to say about it. I mean, it works and it all does what it should do. But does this belong on Steam as a finished product? No. No, it just doesn't. And that's why I have to give it a fairly reluctant 1 star.
BXB. It's in the game.